Hi everyone, this is Mary. Welcome to Mindful Movement with Mary. Today I have a full body Vinyasa flow practice for you, but we're going to spend a little extra time focusing on lower back stability and openness through the hips. And often those two things go hand in hand. So the only thing you need for today's practice are 2 blocks. But before we get started, take a moment to look in the description below this video. Please support my work and subscribe to this channel. We're going to get started laying down on our backs on the mat. So coming to a comfortable position on your back on the mat, and I'm going to bend my knees, place the soles of my feet on the floor, and step the feet a little bit wider than hip distance apart, and lean the knees in to touch. You can bring your hands to your belly or hands down by your sides, palms face up or down to start. And let's just take a few moments here to settle our mind and body in the present moment on our mat in our practice today. Let's take a few deep breaths together to help us center. Inhale deeply through the nose and exhale side out through the mouth. Another deep breath in, long breath out. And one last deep breath in, long breath out. Good. So then you can separate the knees. Bring the feet back in line with the hips. The knees are still bent. And we're going to begin to warm up the lower back and the pelvis here with a few pelvic tilts. Imagine that you have a big bowl of water sitting on your pelvis. And this first movement, you're going to allow the water to pour out toward your feet. So imagine if that bowl was tipped up and you would pour the water toward the feet. Feel how that action lifts the lower back off the mat. That's good. That's what we want. That's called an anterior pelvic tilt. And then we're going to reverse that. So bring the bowl back to neutral. And then if the water was to spill out into your belly button, the lower back is going to flatten onto the floor and your tailbone lifts up a little bit. Good. So that's a posterior pelvic tilt. So come back to neutral. Let's try that with breath. Inhale, arching the lower back into your anterior tilt. Let the belly expand. Exhale, flatten the lower back onto the floor. Little lift away from the floor with the tailbone. Good. Inhale, pour the water toward the feet. Let the belly expand with that inhale. Exhale, rounding the spine, hollow out the belly. Good. A few more times here. Inhaling, arching the spine. Exhale, round the lower back. Really feel that whole lower back on the mat. Good. One more round. Inhaling and exhaling. Good. All right, so we'll add in bridge pose here, which is just a continuation of a pelvic tilt. So as you lift the tailbone a little bit away from the floor, so coming into that posterior pelvic tilt, little lift, then you keep on going, lifting the hips, the lower back, and the middle back off the mat. Good. And then as you exhale here, roll the spine down one vertebra at a time. Really go through that feeling of the lower back pressed to the earth. And then as you release, inhale. There's an arch in the spine again. So we're coming into the little anterior pelvic tilt. So a little arch in the lower back and the tailbone going down toward the earth. Good. Then reverse. Inhale. Scoop the tailbone up, the hips up, the lower back, the middle back. Good, and roll the spine back down. Now let's add the arms too. So inhaling, lifting the arms. As you lift the hips, the arms are going to go over to the ceiling and then overhead. Leave your arms there. As you exhale and roll the spine down, you'll feel a nice traction in the spine as you lower the spine down. Remember to really press the sacrum into the ground, and then at the end you release. Arch the spine away from the floor. And then we'll do that again. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, lift the hips, lower back, middle back, and then exhale. This time bring the arms back down too. Good. All right, so we're now going to take this into a little bit more intentional core work, because the core stability and strength is an important element of lower back health. Bring your hands behind your head, and you can either interlace or just put hand over hand, cradling the head. So we're not pulling on the head here, we're just holding the head in the hands and arms. And we'll work with the pelvic tilt as we do a few little sit-up motions. So inhale, arch the spine away from the floor, let the belly expand. Exhale, tuck the lower back down, lifting the tailbone a little bit. Hollow out the belly as you lift the head. Good. So we're going to make that a little bit faster now. Inhale, arch the spine away from the floor. Exhale, flatten the lower back to the floor, lift up. Inhale, arch away. Exhale, lift, and hollow out the belly. Good, one more time. Inhale, arch the lower back away from the floor, then flatten the lower back on the floor as you exhale, lift the head. Good. All right, inhaling, rocking the lower back away, and then exhale. This time as you lift the head, we're going to do opposite knee, opposite elbow to opposite knee. Good, come on down. Every time you come down, there's the arch away from the floor. So we're really working on engaging the deep core muscles here. We're going really slowly. This is not so much an ab strengthener as it is us becoming aware of what it takes to stabilize through the entire core, including the lower back, as we do these motions. So going back and forth here, up and down, opposite elbow to opposite knee, really slow with breath. Maybe one more time each side. Don't forget to arch at the bottom. Good. All right, last time here. Inhale, arch the spine away. Exhale, round the spine. Press it into the floor. Lift up both knees, both elbows to knee. Good. Hollow out the belly and slowly release down. Good. So hopefully you've woken up the core just a little bit here. Good. Step the feet wider than hip distance apart, almost as wide as the mat. And just let the knees rock side to side, little windshield wiper motion here. Release any tension you're carrying in the hips. Good. And then coming back to center. You can hold behind the thighs and rock and roll up to seated, or you could roll to one side, whatever you feel like is going to feel better for your back today. So we really are focused on feeling good in the back. All right, so we're going to come all the way over to all fours. And when you get here, shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. We'll just do a few rounds of cat and cow. So inhale, start to lift the tailbone. So this is the same action as on your back. Lifting the tailbone, arching the spine, and then continue into the upper and middle back now by shining the heart forward and lifting the head. Good. And then tucking the tailbone round through the whole back. Drop the head. And a few rounds here with the pace of your breath. Good, and then coming back to a neutral spine. We'll inhale, reach the right toes back behind you. Really press through the ball of that back foot. Feel a calf stretch. Maybe the hips shift back a couple inches as you really root into that ball of the foot. And you're rooting so heavily into that foot that you could float the opposite knee. So try that. Float the opposite knee just a couple inches off the floor. Again, a little stability and strength through the core. And then lower down and return the leg to neutral. We'll do the other side. Reaching the left toes back behind you. Inhale, press into the ball of the foot. Press the hands forward a little bit. Create stability there. So much stability and strength through the leg and hands that you can float the opposite knee up. Little hovering position here. Good. And then lower the knee and return the left knee to neutral. Coming back to the right leg. Inhale, send the right leg back behind you. This time, float the leg till it's parallel to the floor. And since we want to work on creating stability through the lower back today, try not to lift the leg too high. Really keep it in line with the hips. We want a long neutral spine in the lower back here. And this might be plenty for you. You might just want to work here today, or you could extend the opposite arm. And we'll hover here just for a few breaths, inhaling and exhaling. This is creating strength and stability through the entire back body. This is probably my favorite back strengthener that I like to give to anyone who's complaining of lower back pain. Good. Hand down, knee down. We'll do the other side. Extending the left toes back behind you. Then floating the leg up till it's parallel with the floor. Engage your navel to your spine to really keep the back long. And reach opposite arm up if that's in your practice today. So reaching fingertips in one direction, heel in the other. Good. Feel the strength and stability of this pose, how your whole back is one long line from the heel to the head. Good. And then lower the hand and lower the knee. Good work. All right, so find a block. And we're going to place the block on your sacrum in the lower back area. So right where the tag of your pants would be. And the goal here is going to be to keep that block level. So we want the lower back and the pelvis here to be neutral and strong and stable as we move the hip. So begin to shift a little bit so that you can float the right leg. So we're going to lift the right leg out to the side, keep the knee bent, and draw big circles with the knee. So the knee's going to go out to the side, then back, then down to the floor and forward. So tracing a really big circle, and make sure you go the other direction. Engaging navel to spine. You're going to start to feel your hips have to really work here. That's a good thing. We want to wake them up. We want them to do the work. All right, and lower the knee down. Let's try the other side. So left knee out to the side, knee stays bent the whole time, and then knee points down, forward and up again. So big circle, trying to keep the lower back level. Engaging your core, navel to spine, and reversing directions. Good. And come on down. You can remove the block, but keep it pretty close by. We're going to have the big toes together, knees apart. Sit the hips back into child's pose. Stretch the arms straight out on the mat overhead. And breathe into your lower back. Every inhale creates space around the sacrum. Every inhale stretches the skin of the back. Good, and then begin to lift the head and come on up. We're going to tuck the toes under and come into downward facing dog, but we're going to do that with the block between the thighs. So come on up to your downward facing dog, grab the block, put it up high up between the thighs, and ease into your downward facing dog. And with the block here between the upper thighs, it helps us to create space around the sacrum and in the lower back. So feel what that feels like today. Pressing the floor away. You might want to bend both knees, lifting the hips way up and back. Good, and then slowly walking the feet to the hands. Yes, the block is still between the legs. And enjoy your forward fold for a minute here. Feeling the block between the thighs. Maybe give it a little squeeze. And then sweeping the arms out to the side and overhead. Come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Good. All right, so you can remove the block. Place both blocks to the top of your mat, one on either side. We'll do a little bit of a traditional sun salute to work into the body a little bit more. Inhale, raise the arms overhead. Exhale, hinge and fold. Shifting the weight into the left foot, take a big step back with the right. Hands can be on blocks here if that's comfortable. But take a moment and pause here. Press through the ball of the back foot, elongate the spine and look forward. Excuse me. Then lower the back knee down, untuck the toes. Hands can come up onto the blocks. You're coming into low lunge here. So really sink into your low lunge at first. Feel the sensations around the hip and the sacrum. What does that feel like? And then come on up for a moment here, a little bit higher than you normally are. So bring the hips up in line with that back knee. And draw the lower belly in, sink the tailbone to the floor. And as you do those two actions, do you feel more stretch, more sensation over here in the front of the right hip? Have the shoulders stacked over the hips, stacked over the knee. You can bring the fingertips to the blocks if you want to. So feeling the openness, the length in the lower back as we stretch the front of the hip. So the front of the hip needs to be open for us to have optimum back health as well. All right, so come on forward, back into your low lunge a little bit more here. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, hands come down to blocks. Shift the hips back, now straightening the front leg. You can take your blocks with you. Coming into your half split, toes peel up toward the ceiling. We'll just pause here for a moment and try not to round too much in the back. Really think about hinging at the hips. So you may not be able to sink the chest very far today because I really want to keep a long line in the leg and the back. The hamstrings are directly tied into the back. So if they're really tight, they might pull and help us round the back. But since we're working on length and spaciousness in the lower back, let's stay up a little higher today. Good. One more breath in. Exhale. And then coming forward to your low lunge again. Plant the hands, tuck the toes under, lift the back thigh up, and then step the left foot back, downward facing dog. Good job. Inhale forward to high plank. Shoulders come over the wrists. And here in your high plank, this is another good core strengthener both for the back and the abs. So we have a tendency to sink here. Try not to sink. Don't let the lower back arch. In fact, lift the hips up a little higher than you think today. Good. Then you can either lower the knees or just bend the elbows, come all the way down to your belly. From here, extend the arms straight out to the side in T position and come onto the pinky side edge of the hand. Inhale, root the pubic bone into the floor, reach out through the back toes. And then as you exhale, float just the upper body. So lifting the arms, head, neck, shoulders off the mat. Keep looking down at the mat. Keep reaching energy out through the big toes. One more breath in. Lift up as high as you can with your heart shining forward. And then exhale, come on down. Maybe make a pillow With the hands, shake the hips a little bit. Good, and then placing the hands underneath the shoulder, tuck the toes under, come up through plank, back to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the right leg straight back behind you. Exhale, step the foot up between the hands. Pause here, high lunge, shine the heart forward. Good, and then step the back foot up, forward fold. Inhale, come all the way up with a flat back. Exhale, hands to heart center. Good, let's do the other side. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, hinge and fold. Shifting the weight into the right foot, take a big step back with the left. Pause here, high lunge. Then lower the back knee down, untuck the toes, find your blocks. And come on up to your low lunge here. And then come even higher up, just like we did in the other side, trying to get the hips over that back knee. Draw the lower belly in on that side. Imagine the tailbone sinking to the floor. Feel how there's a little more sensation maybe through the left hip flexors. That's a good thing. That's what we want. Really want to open through the front of the hip. Good. And then shifting forward, sinking a little lower, coming into your more traditional Anjalayasana, low lunge. Inhale, raise the arms up. Exhale, hands down to blocks. Shift the hips back, coming into half split. The front toes peel up toward the ceiling. Really root down through the front heel. Imagine the heel drawing slightly back to the hips. And pause and breathe. Long spine if you can. Thinking more about hinging forward as opposed to rounding forward will also intensify the hamstring stretch. If you've been doing a lot of sitting, working from home, this feels really good. Good, and then shifting forward, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee up, step the right foot back, downward facing dog. Inhale forward to high plank. Take a moment here, lift the hips up a little bit higher than you think, draw the navel to the spine. And then exhale, lowering all the way down to your belly. Untuck the toes. Inhale, send the arms straight out by your side. You can start with palms face down this time. And your forehead can be down toward the mat. My head is just lifted because of the microphones today. And we're going to work the lower body first. So as you inhale, root the pubic bone into the floor. Exhale, float the right leg up. Try to come all the way from the hip, all the way in an arc up to the foot. Good, and lower down. Inhale, root the pubic bone. Exhale, lift the left leg. Inhale, down. Exhale, right leg. Inhale, down. Exhale, left leg. So go back and forth a couple times here. If you're starting to feel this in the lower back, don't lift as high. Think about reaching back and out more than up, and really commit to rooting the pubic bone into the floor. Those things should help. Maybe one more time each side. Good. All right, so then everything's down on the mat again. Inhale, root the pubic bone. Exhale, we're going to float arms, head, neck, chest, and legs off the mat all together here. Inhale here. Exhale, send the arms overhead if you have space. And pause, breathe. Good. And then lower everything down. Make a pillow with the hands. Bend the knees this time. Windshield wiper the legs side to side. Good. Then extending the legs straight again, placing the hands underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes under, come up through plank, back to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg back behind you. Exhale, squeeze it into the chest, step it up between the hands. Good. Inhale here, pause in your high lunge. Exhale, step the back foot up, forward fold. Inhale, come up with a flat back, arms overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Pause here for a moment in mountain pose. All right, adding on. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, hinge and fold. Shifting the weight into the left foot, take a big step back with the right. High lunge. Start to shift your right hand underneath the shoulder and inhale, come into a twist, lifting the left arm straight up and back. So straight toward the ceiling, twisting toward the left, toward the bent knee. Lift the hips up a little bit, create some space for yourself. Good, and then lower the hand down, framing the front foot. You're going to begin to pivot on the back foot. So you lower the heel down and windmill the arms up, warrior two. So coming into your warrior two here, deep bend in the front knee, rooting into the outer edge of the back foot. Good. Inhale, straighten the front leg, reach up and back, reverse your warrior. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reach way up and back. Exhale, warrior two. And this time, reach way up and back, coming into your reverse warrior, keeping the legs straight as you exhale. Shift the hips back a little bit. Both sides of the torso stay long, coming into triangle. Find a block and place the block to the outer shin. So triangle pose. Both sides of the torso are long, reaching out in all directions. Good. And then bring the top hand down to the hip. Start to look down at your front foot and bend a little bit into that front foot. You're going to take the block with you. It's going to move about a foot in front of the pinky. We're going to come into half moon, but we'll do so very mindfully. So start to hop up on the back foot. And then practice lifting the back leg. So a couple times, touch down with the toe and then lift up. And when you're ready and you feel like you can balance, opening to the side, flexing that top foot, maybe reaching the top hand to the ceiling. Half moon. So the top leg, that top half of your body is really in mountain pose. It's in Tadasana. There's a lot of strength there. And the bottom leg is rotating out. Good. All right, inhale here. Exhale, back to warrior two. Good job. Inhale, pivot on the back foot, lift the back heel, crescent warrior, facing forward. Exhale, hands to heart, float the back leg up, coming into warrior three. Hands can be at the heart, down by the sides, or overhead, whatever you like today. Lifting that back leg up. So this is just like a spinal balance, only we're standing. Good. Then lower the right leg down, come through chair, bending the knees, sitting the hips way back. Inhale, reach up. Good. Exhale, hands to heart center. All right, other side. Inhale, reaching overhead. Exhale, hinge and fold. Coming into your forward fold. Shifting the weight into the right foot, take a big step back with the left, high lunge. Bringing the left hand now underneath the shoulder. Inhale, come to your twist. So reaching the hands straight up toward the ceiling, twisting toward the bent knee. Making sure you lift the back thigh up just a little bit. Good. Then lower the hand, frame the front foot. Begin to pivot on the back foot. Windmill the arms up. Warrior two. And same thing here as we did on the other side. Inhale, straighten the leg, reach back, reverse your warrior. Inhale, warrior two. I'm sorry, exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reach up and back. Exhale, warrior two. Last time, inhale, reach up and back. Reverse this warrior. And then exhale, shift the hips back with the legs straight, tipping yourself into triangle pose. Find a block, bring it to the outside of the ankle. Hand down, triangle pose. Legs are straight, but try not to hyperextend the front knee. So give it a little micro bend. Good. Then bring the top hand down to the hip. Look down at your front foot, bend that knee, and begin to hop the back foot up, coming into half moon. So start with a few leg lifts. See how you feel with the balance. And make sure you have your block about a foot in front of that pinky toe, and then start to open to the side. Flex the top foot, reach the top hand toward the ceiling if you want today. You can also leave it down on your hip. Good. Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. Good. Inhale here. Exhale. Back to your warrior two, just for a breath. Inhale. Pivot forward, crescent warrior. Both toes forward, back heel lifted. And then exhale, hinge forward. One more balance here. Warrior three. Hands can be to the heart center or overhead. Or they can be down by your sides too. That's another beautiful option. Gaze at the floor. Catch your balance here. Lifting that from the inner thigh of the back leg. Good. And then we're going to come through chair. So dropping the left leg, sit the hips back, chair pose. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Beautiful work. All right, coming to the top of your mat. Inhale, one last time here, reach overhead. Exhale, hinge and fold. Plant both hands, step both feet back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the right leg back behind you. And exhale, we're going to come into pigeon on this side. So bringing the leg forward, dropping the shin down, knee to the right wrist, ankle down to by the left hip crease. And scooch that back leg back. You might want to just come onto the toes for a minute and then lay the knee down and untuck the toes. So, because we're focusing on lower back today, the focus for me for this pose is to make sure that your lower back is level. So if you're doing this sideways kind of thing, that's not going to feel very good. So if you need to prop yourself up, put something under that hip, there is no shame in that. Our hips are very unique. Our bone structure determines the range of motion more even than the muscles sometimes. So do what you need to do to keep the tailbone, the sacrum really level, the lower back level. So it's almost like we had a block still on the tailbone. Good. So resting here just for a few breaths. You can either come down onto the forearms or all the way down to your forehead. And if you know pigeon pose is not right for your body, you can do figure four on your back. Sending your breath into the hips. Using your breath to feel like you could melt away any tension there. Good. And then if you have a prop under the hip, you can move that to the side. I am now going to roll onto the right hip so much that I can sweep the left leg forward and come into Gomukhasana. So I'm going to bend that top leg, and maybe I place the foot down. Maybe that's as far as I can go today. Or maybe I can stack knee over knee, coming into Gomukhasana legs. So if you want to sit up on a block here, that is a beautiful option, and it's much more accessible that way. So ideally, and I'll turn so you can see me here, ideally the knees are stacked and you're sitting down with both sitting bones on the floor. The feet are out to the side, so you're not sitting on your feet. You can hold onto your feet, maybe give them a little massage with your hands. That can feel nice. This is a powerful bilateral, both sides, hip stretch. And we're not going to add the arms today because we haven't been focusing on arms. But if you want to add a little more intensity, you could lean forward, again, keeping a long spine. So maybe you only lean forward a few inches. Good. And then coming up, if you've been leaning forward, start to unwind. You're going to go back the way you came. So straightening that leg back, tucking the toes under, lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog, shake out the legs. Good. And then inhale, send the left leg way back behind you. Exhale, sweeping forward to pigeon on the left side. So knee toward wrist, ankle toward opposite hip crease. And maybe giving yourself a little bit more space by coming onto the ball of the back foot and lengthening the back leg back a little. And then untucking the toes. Again, pay attention to if you need some support under the hip. Maybe you want a folded blanket, sweatshirt, block, whatever you have at hand, and whatever is the right height, couch cushion, pillow. And then come on down as far as you want today. You could always stay lifted. This is a very powerful stretch. And actually, if you stay lifted, you're going to get more through the hip flexor. The more you come down, you're going to get more to the outer hip, the rotators of the hip. So settle down into this. This is like a sleeping pigeon variation. And then if you have something under the hip, make sure you move it to the side and rock back on that hip so you are sitting all the way into the left hip so you can sweep the right leg all the way around and stack knee over knee. So come into Gomukhasana on this side. Again, sitting up on the block definitely makes this a little bit less intense because it can feel really crazy at first. People say, "What? Stacking my knees? That seems impossible." And for some of us it is, and for some of us it always will be. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So try to get the sitting bones rooted down. Try to keep a nice long spine. Feel openness in the lower back. And if you want to add that little hinge forward, hinging at the hips, not rounding. Good. And coming back to neutral. From here, I'm just going to unwind the legs. So lean back on the hands. Unwind the legs. And we're going to come into a wide-legged stretch. So straightening the legs wide out on the mat. Long legs rooting into the heels and the sitting bones. Bring the hands behind you. Fingers face away from the body and press the palms into the earth. Feel as you press the palms into the earth, you can elongate the spine. I want to really feel that length and openness in the lower back, because we have a tendency to round here. It's a difficult pose to sit up straight in, so pressing the hands into the ground behind really helps with that. And you may find that the longer you sit here and the more that your muscles open up and relax, you could press into your hands and just move the hips forward a couple of inches, and that's going to open up even more. But you know, again, that is, everybody's body is different, and that may not be possible. So breathing, feeling anchored into the heels, all the way up the backs of the legs, into the sitting bones. And then lean back, bring your legs together. We're going to lay down on our backs on the mat, just how we started. So when you get here, bringing the knees into the chest, rocking gently side to side across the spine. Then place the feet down on the floor. Lift up the hips just enough to slide them an inch or two to the right, and drop the knees all the way over to the left. So try to keep them mostly stacked so that you have openness through the sacrum here. And you can extend the arms out into a T position. So we're working with a stretch, twist here into the lower back, but hopefully the hips feel stable. They're stacked and strong. One more deep breath in. Long breath out. And then coming back to center. You can hug the knees in again if you want, just to recenter everything. And then place the feet down on the floor. Hips shift a couple inches to the left. Knees are going to drop all the way over to the right. Just try to keep them as stacked as possible. Arms out in a T position. Strong stretch, a strong twist through the torso. Trying to keep the shoulders grounded. They might not both be on the floor, but they're grounded toward the floor. The arms are heavy. Take another deep breath in. Long, slow breath out. And bringing the knees back up to center. Maybe one more time, squeeze them in, rock side to side. And if there's anything else that your body is craving right now, if you want to do happy baby, reaching for the soles of the feet, if you want to do another twist or a bridge pose or anything else, feel free to do that now. Or if you're ready to come right into Shavasana, I would recommend for today that you have your 2 blocks and put them short end to short end. And they're going to come underneath the knees and the lower thighs there. So the backs of the knees on the higher end there. That's going to help us sink and relax the lower back into the mat. Coming into your Shavasana and making any last adjustments that you need to be even more comfortable now. Settling the body on the earth. drawing your attention back to your breath. Feeling the inhales arrive and the exhales depart in a natural wave-like rhythm. Feeling the whole back body supported by the earth. And you're welcome to stay here in your Shavasana as long as you wish today. But if you're ready to close your practice for now, start to take deeper inhales and exhales. Letting the breath reawaken your body. And begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. And when you're ready, bending the knees, rolling to one side, pausing there just for a moment, offering yourself gratitude for making time for your practice today, and for our virtual community of friends, and for someone else you feel lucky to have in your life. Use your hands to press yourself up to a seated position. Bringing the hands to the heart center in prayer. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Namaste.